Good evening and welcome to tonight's Discover the University of California Merced's Empowerment Through the Black Student Experience webinar. We'd like to welcome you tonight and thank you for taking the time to come to this webinar. My name is Adam. I'm the events coordinator for the University of California Merced's Office of Admissions. And just a few housekeeping procedures before we begin. To adjust your volume, you can do that in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And as we are going through tonight's webinar, if you have any questions that you would like for our panelists to answer, please submit those through the question and answer panel located at the bottom center of your screen. Welcome to tonight's presentation. It's my pleasure to turn this over to my colleague, Timothy Ford. Tim?
Thank you, Adam, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to University of California's Empowerment Through the Black Student Experience webinar. Again, my name is Timothy Ford, and I serve as the Northern California Admissions Advisor for the Bay Area region. So I'm really excited to have you all here. And with that, I'd like to turn over to my colleague, Mariah Tresvant, who will also present our second, herself and our second speaker this evening.
Thank you so much, Tim. Hello, everyone. My name is Mariah Tresvant, and I am the South Valley Admissions Transfer Advisor here at UC Merced. A little bit about myself. I am an alumna from UC Merced. I received my bachelor's degree in psychology. So it's really great to be able to share my story with you guys today. I am a former transfer student from Los Angeles Pierce College. I stayed at my community college for about 4 years, and I didn't have the best grades. I wasn't the greatest student. I was about a B average student, and I was a biology major to begin with. When I attended UC Merced, I did switch my major, and I did feel like I switched to something that was a little bit more passionate and passionate in my eyes. And that's a common story that a lot of our students have, where they're not sure about where they want to be, where they want to end up. And so it's really nice to have other people share their stories. When I graduated from UC Merced, I did graduate with high honors. So I did switch my academic history around after transferring to UC Merced, becoming really, really focused on my academic history. And one of the ways that I helped my academic history was when I got to or my academics, excuse me, when I got to the UC, I wanted to make sure I communicated more. I went to the events that were hosted on campus, and then I went to speak with my professors, who would go to give me great advice and to point me in the best directions and to connect me with people who would further my education. And so for that, I will be forever thankful. As a student, I was a part of the Guardian Scholars Club. I was also a part of the Psychology Club at UC Merced and the Psych National Honor Society Club. I was the lead research assistant for the Latch Lab, where we collected biosamples from infants and mothers to correlate through data analysis through everyday situations. And I was also part of the Distinguished Ladies Clubs, which we'll see in a little bit. And I did share a photo where I was a part of the first general meeting that they had. On my own time at the campus, I did volunteer at the McNamara Youth Center nearby, where I guided and I advised young children who went to this center in this low-income area. Also, as a student, I did work 2 jobs while I attended UC Merced. I worked as the student admissions office assistant, and I also assisted in the evenings a student with disabilities who did attend UC Merced at that time. So I'm really happy to be able to share that with you guys, and to give you guys just a little bit of inspiration to know that just because you start maybe not so well off, that you will not end up where you, or that you will end up eventually where you want to be if you just apply yourself and ask for help when you need it. Now that we have gone over my story, I want to go ahead and start the presentation about empowerment through the Black student experience. And I wanted to share with you guys some of the programs that we offer for our students, our Black students on campus at UC Merced. And just as an overview, we are going to talk about the Black Book. We're going to look, and that's just UC Merced's webpage resource, one-stop shop resource for Black students. We're going to talk about UC Merced's commitment to Black excellence briefly. We're going to talk about Afro and Afro Hall, the clubs and organizations, a new program called BOLD that we now have. We are going to go over our we're going to talk to our alumni from our campus, our recent alum graduate, and then we're also going to delve into the student panel questions and answers. So to begin, welcome to Merced's Black Book. This is a page, an online information resource hub created for our members of our Black community here at UC Merced. This page contains all of the information about the Black community, as well as the necessary contact information if you have any questions as a prospective student, faculty member, or guest. The Black Book is also UC Merced's page that contains the calendar for our Black Community Club and Organization events, and all other events that you may find at the bottom of our homepage if you visit the Black Book. Also on this homepage, you'll find a number of links that will take you through a mini tour of the Black community here at UC Merced, where you can learn more about the Black clubs and organizations, their missions and values, as well as you meeting the Black faculty and staff and being able to see who we have and the representation that we have on our campus, so that you know that when you come to UC Merced, you have that little bit of comfort to know that there is a community here waiting for you. So UC Merced is committed to Black excellence, and UC Merced is fully committed to working on ending the conditions that create injustice, conditions that are leaving our Black community dehumanized and their innocent lives taken. The enduring legacy of slavery, segregation, racism, and oppression in America must be confronted and addressed systemically. This is not a moment, it is a movement, and so therefore, the university has highlighted immediate, short-term, and long-term plans to address these submitted proposals that were granted to our institution. So if you want to learn more information about that, you can go ahead and scan the QR code that you see on the chat, and that will take you to our memorandum associated Black student leaders link. And do note that this is not an exhaustive list of actions. The university will continue to generate ideas and work with students, staff, and faculty to support Black student success at UC Merced. All right, so to begin, we have AFRO. AFRO stands for Afrikaans for Retention and Outreach, and their mission is to unite and establish an African community that focuses on academic excellence, community outreach, and providing a mentoring program that fosters student development throughout their college experience. AFRO's organization is dedicated to providing a living and learning community for Black students that focuses on academic excellence, community outreach, and providing a mentoring program that fosters student development through their college experience. That is what we call our AFRO Hall, and we'll take a look at that right now. So the AFRO Hall Living and Learning Community welcomes first and second year students from all cultures who are interested in exploring the African diaspora. The program was established to unite the African diaspora to increase the retention of four-year graduation rates through various resources that enhance students' academic success. AFRO Hall also provides opportunities to participate in mentoring programs, academic workshops, and community outreach. The members of this program will gain support systems, leadership skills, and an unforgettable living experience along with other students who are like themselves. So at UC Merced, we do have almost 200 clubs and organizations, but we're going to delve into some of the organizations that are geared more towards Black student success. So to start, we have the African Student Union, and it was established to provide and foster the awareness and appreciation of the various cultures of the African continent. They like to discuss political awareness, cultural awareness, social tolerance, and also to help promote academic success in the Black community and with our Black students. The organization stands to promote cultural diversity on campus by way of bringing exposure to the African culture. They do offer a couple events throughout the year, including general body meetings bi-weekly, a fall retreat, a culture show, which I've had the pleasure of attending many times, where you have our students at UC Merced get together and share different aspects of the African culture that can include, that can include dances from the African culture, different dances from the African culture, and so on. We also have the Nigerian Student Coalition, that's a part of the, which is an event that the African Student Union does host as well for our students. We also have the Black Student Union on campus. I did attend a few of the general meetings with a friend of mine who invited me to join Black Student Union. Their mission is to establish, provide, and foster the awareness and the appreciation, once again, of the African American culture and history, as well as to enhance political awareness, social tolerance, and academic success amongst all. The club programs that are hosted by Black Student Union and some events that you are able to be a part of include community outreach, some academic and social support opportunities, volunteering, as well as community services. Some events hosted by BSU include Brother and Sisters Circle, Pajama Jam, Ugly Sweater Party, the Welcome Black Barbecue, and so much more. So this is the Distinguished Ladies Club and Organization, whose mission is to establish and uplift each other to become successful minority women while positively impacting our campus community, as well as being actively involved in our Merced community to ordain and establish the Constitution and subscribe the regulations and policies of the university. So some of those program events include general body meetings, community service, study sessions, and bonding events. And just to point out, there I am on my very first semester during the general meeting of Distinguished Ladies. I was with my roommates at the time, so that was really fun. Here at UC Merced, we also have the National Society of Black Engineers, which seeks to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. Some of the program offerings include academic and professional development, community outreach, community service, volunteering, career fairs, industry tours, and networking. Some of the annual events hosted by the National Society of Black Engineers include regional fall conferences, a national convention for a day in education volunteering, and Engineering Week. We also have something a little bit less focused on academics and something more social. We do have the S.T.E.P team, and the S.T.E.P team is a performance-based organization that is used to help to stimulate students mentally and physically. It provides conditioning and routines to express themselves creatively. Another focus of the club is community outreach, in which opportunities are available throughout the year for students to participate in. They also host weekly study sessions for participating students to enhance academic success, as well as weekly practices to have to be upheld in order to prepare for future performances and community outreach if you do perform outside of the campus. Some of the annual events hosted by S.T.E.P team include the Welcome Back Block Party, Midnight Madness, African Student Union Culture Show is also something that they participate in. Bobcat Day they also participate in, and the Black Banquet they also participate in. So this is a new opportunity that we have implemented by the Student Leadership Center. BOLD is an interactive leadership development program in which each workshop builds upon the others to create a universal understanding of leadership, unity, and advocacy from a global sense, but also with specific attention to the Black community at UC Merced. BOLD creates a space to further develop students' capacity as leaders, empowering them to maintain their authenticity and increase their ability to contribute to unity and leadership at UC Merced and beyond. Students who identify as Black and or within the African diaspora are highly encouraged to register. Those who attend all 4 sessions will receive an official certification of completion from the Margot Souza Student Leadership Center. I'm so sorry, that's a mouthful. As well as assistance regarding how you may accomplish or display this on your resume. So we do allow and help and push and really want to create opportunities for our students here at UC Merced. And this is one of those that you now have the opportunity to join if you do become a UC Merced student. So now I would like to hand it over to our alum student highlight, Jamina Nesbitt, who was our former transfer or former student here for all 4 years of her attendance at UC Merced. She did graduate at the class of 2020, and I will go ahead and allow Jamina to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamina Nesbitt and I did recently graduate UC Merced back in May. I'm from Menifee, California. A lot of folks don't know where that is. It's by Paris, Marietta, Moreno Valley, out there. So that's where I currently live now with my parents. I was a political science major and a Spanish minor. I did get my BA in political science back in May. I was involved in a lot of different events. I held leadership positions in Black Student Union. I was a part of Merced Pre-Law Society. I was chief of staff of Associated Students UC Merced External Office. And I was part of the fall 2018 cohort of UC Center Sacramento. I believe why I chose UC Merced, it's such a crazy story, but I liked that the campus was new. I knew it was something that was going to be an adventure, and I was looking for something that was going to be different for me. I wanted to step out of my comfort zone. Mind you, I've never heard of Merced before, so this is going to be extremely different for me. I am an only child, so I wanted to make sure I was far away from my parents, but not extremely far. We did make a deal. I had to stay in state. I wanted a new adventure, and I did have family in Oakland, so if I got homesick at all, I was able to go there. Only a 2-hour ride. As far as my UC Merced experience, I loved UC Merced. That was probably the best 4 years of my life. I have met some wonderful people, Mariah included. I was able to really step out my comfort zone and do different things. As with all of the different clubs I've joined, it did get difficult at times. However, it is definitely possible to still succeed academically because I did. And if I can do it, you can do it. As far as classes go, I do like how UC Merced has a great student faculty ratio. So there have been times where I've had the same professor maybe 2 or 3 times. So I was very familiar with their teaching style, as well as their grading and all of that, and able to establish that relationship between student and professor. So I think that's something that's been really important. So I have completed 2 internships while I was at UC Merced. One of them was UC Center Sacramento. It is a program where students apply and they get the opportunity to spend a semester in Sacramento, and during that semester they obtain an internship and they do a research project. So for me, I did it in fall of 2018 and I was a junior. My internship was actually with the California Department of Justice, where I was working in the Attorney General's office. As a matter of fact, I was on the same floor as him. He was actually down the hall from me, so I actually did run into him a couple times. It's Javier Becerra. He actually is the first Hispanic Attorney General of California, so that's something really cool. And as far as my research project, I did it on the housing and homelessness issue in LA County. So the good thing about UCCS is that they do provide housing. So I lived in the Upper East Side Lofts, which is also Sac State's housing. Really nice. You do get a roommate. And it also gives you a chance to network with different students from other UC campuses. So every UC has this program. You will be put in a cohort with UCLA, UC Davis, UC Santa Barbara, every UC. So I did get the opportunity to roommate with a UC Davis student, which was really nice, and we do still talk. As far as my plans for the future, I think that is something that really helped me to kind of come up with ideas for once I graduate. Another internship I participated in, it's kind of not UC Merced related, but a UC Merced professor did send out the application. It was working with the UC Berkeley Labor Center, where we worked with labor unions. in the Bay Area. So thankfully, I had family in the Bay Area I stayed with and worked with SEIU 1021 and learned about the importance of the labor movement and all those different types of things. So I'm grateful to have that. And I guess y'all wondering, what am I up to now? Well, my plans for the future, I am currently in the process of applying to law school. So that is something that I'm working on right now. And I did take the LSAT once, so still kind of waiting on that score to come back and getting the letters of rec and, just drafting my personal statement and all of those things. I'm also working. I do plan on studying entertainment and media law. So I would like to work with music artists, companies like Netflix, Hulu, things like that, contracting, all of those types of things. And yeah, that is all I have to say. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Jamina, for sharing your story and for letting everyone know what you did while you were here and where you are today. I think that's really important as an example for our Black students to know where our Black students who did attend UC Merced are now, and they've sort of opportunities that they have available to them now as a UC Merced alum. So thank you so much for sharing that. And now we are going to go into our student panel question and answer. So please do submit any questions you guys have in the Q&A, and I will go ahead and let Tim take it off from here.
Thank you both Mariah and Jimena. That was wonderful information about your experiences. So again, I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to be moderating the live portion now, answering basically questions that you may have to our panelists that are on board tonight. Before we get started, I'd like to have each of our members of our panelists introduce themselves. If you wouldn't mind sharing your name, your hometown, your major, what year you are at UC Merced, and briefly just mention 2 organizations or an activity that you're involved in at UC Merced. So I'd like to kickstart with Feroz, please.
Hello, so my name is Feroz Magade, and I'm originally actually from LA, but from moving to Merced, I'm coming in from SAC. And I'm a first year, I'm living on campus currently. My major is environmental engineering, and the 2 clubs I'm most prominently active in would be NSBE, which is National Society of Black Engineers, and also NREA, which is for environmental engineers, as well as just any student that's an environmentalist or environmentally active in that sense.
All right, thank you. Kayla.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm from San Francisco. I'm currently a 3rd year and my major is psychology. Some things I'm a part of, or at least was most a part of before everything became so remote, was I was part of Writers Guild and I was working at the Pavilion. I didn't get a chance to do as much as I'd like to. I was planning to start my own a cappella thing, but I mean, I still plan to do that if we come back, so.
Awesome, thank you. Montel, you're up next.
Hey everyone, so my name is Montel Nuwasu. So like Jamina, I actually graduated in May. I was a political science major just like her. So we have a lot in common. First of all, what's up, Jamina? I haven't seen you forever, but I hope you're doing well.
Montel.
So I'm from LA. That's kind of a lie, but I usually say LA because no one really knows where my hometown is from. I'm from a city called Carson in the LA County, but when I talk to people who are actually from LA, they never let me have it. So I'm from Carson, but between you and I'm from LA. Okay, so college was cool. Like I said, I graduated in May, and I really did enjoy my time. Merced really grew on me. I thought it was really pretty. I enjoyed the quiet. I enjoyed the seasons, actual seasons. Are you kidding me? It was brilliant. It was brilliant. And it was overall just a really good experience. When I was there, I guess I'm an example of a student who sort of slipped through the cracks. I didn't join a lot of clubs. I was never involved in communities, for example, But I did try to go to some clubs occasionally. I'd go with my friends to Smash Club and we'd play games together. Or I was in the Writers Guild for a little bit my last semester for lockdown, and that was always really fun too. And now that I've graduated, I'm currently getting my teaching credential. So I'm trying to teach English to middle schoolers or high schoolers. I'm working with middle schoolers right now. It's really fun, really awkward being on screen and teaching students from a distance, but it comes with the territory, honestly. I'd imagine when I become an actual teacher, I'm going to be so good at this job. And it's life is looking up.
Awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Great. Yes. And just so you know, we're going to also have one more panelist who's going to be joining us momentarily. She's in class right now, so she will be joining us when she can. But in the meantime, what I like to do is to ask each of the panelists if you wouldn't mind sharing why UC Merced, what brought you to UC Merced, and also with that question, what was the transition like for you coming from the cities that you're from? How did you transition to the community at UC Merced? This is to everyone on the panelists, so whoever likes to kickstart, that'd be great.
I can kickstart. So initially, if it wasn't for a lot of the faculty that came onto my high school campus to kind of like tell us more about UC Merced and what it has to offer, I might not have known about it since it is a new campus. Thankfully, my older brothers mentioned it, and I do have an older brother that attends here. He's currently a third year CSE major, which is computer science and engineering. So if it wasn't thanks to Dr. Harris getting in contact with him first and then reaching out to my family, then I don't think we would have had that connection that we do now, as well as a lot of like the opportunities. So for other UC campuses that are more established, you might have to like compete for courses or compete for compete for research opportunities. Whereas in Merced, you will most likely be able to talk to professors one-on-one and have that ability to connect with them more, to have those opportunities to be a part of research or be a part of some other community. And I really love the opportunity and having the availability and access to my professors instead of having to compete with other students for positions that you're most capable of handling and being a part of.
So for me, UC Merced was definitely not my first choice, but towards the end, right before making the decision to go, I had a college advisor who I was very close to, and he was familiar with majority of the colleges in California, and he told me that based on just my personality and how I was in high school, he was like, over here, you're a big fish in a small pond. In most other colleges, you're going to be a small fish in a big pond. But at UC Merced, you're more likely to have that same experience. And so I took his word with that, and I found it to be true. As soon as I got here, I noticed people were very friendly, and I made a lot of friends, and I saw faces often. I saw the same faces often, which was really nice and comforting. And honestly, it didn't feel, I get overwhelmed pretty easily. But I think because the school was newer and, the classes were smaller, and it felt easier to get that help from professors or just your peers, because it was not exactly like high school, but because the classes are smaller, you have that more intimate connection. So that felt really cool.
Yeah, I actually agree with Kayla. I always found the idea of going to a college that didn't have too many students to be very attractive. I have a very introverted personality. I just can't imagine standing out and getting the attention that I need with 100 other students to compete for, So what I always loved about UC Merced was that the classes were very small, at least reasonably small anyways, and it wasn't impossible to go to office hours. You wouldn't be waiting in line for hours. You could email your professor, and there was a reasonable chance that your professor would get back to you within 3 to 5 business days. You know what I mean? Like, it never took terribly long to get help that I needed. In terms of why I chose the school, admittedly, I just didn't get into any other UCs. And not that was a bad thing per se, it's just when deciding to go to college, I didn't necessarily have a lot of motivation. And maybe that's an indication of the kind of student that I was at UC Merced. But the point is that I didn't really think too hard about it. And I just went with my gut, and it worked out really well. I suppose I made the best out of the situation that I was placed in.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that information. Great. So I have another question. I want to also encourage again those who are our attendees. Feel free to pose a question in the Q&A portion that we can ask our panelists to respond to. So feel free to go ahead and type those in if you do have any questions. My next question, and this could be addressed to anyone. What are things to do in Merced? You know, and how active are you involved in the Merced community itself? Have you found opportunities to be involved in? Can any of you share information about that?
So I can go first. Living on campus, and especially during the circumstances that we're in currently, I can say that it is like sometimes there might be like some days where it might feel like there isn't much to do, but I feel like with all the space that we have, and as well, like if you are able to kind of get out of your comfort zone and reach out to people, you'll find that there is a good amount of things to do, and you can get very creative with your activities. So I personally was able to like talk to people in my dorm hall, as well as people that live in the summits, which are 2 other dorm halls in Cathedral and Half Dome, and we play volleyball every night. We also exercise together, so it's a large group of us, about like 15 to 20 some nights. And every now and then people will hear you, people will see you, and they will like join in. And student involvement as well as like student government here is very active and like trying to set different activities. So just, I think 2 nights ago, maybe like 3 nights ago, we had a cocoa screening outside on the soccer field.
Awesome. Anyone want to also add their experience as well?
I would love to, honestly. So like I said, I'm a very introverted guy, but my last year, I was really getting out my comfort zone. Maybe it was too late, but in my opinion, there's no such thing as too late. And my last year, I joined a fraternity, and I know that comes with a lot of stereotypes. I thought it was going to be a bunch of energy drinks and bros just hanging out all the time, but you know, it turned out to be a lot more meaningful than I anticipated. And I think it's Scholars Lane, but basically outside the library and outside the student store area. A lot of times there would be a lot of tables out there and people just doing things. And if you feel so inclined, you can engage with those people. It took me 4 years to realize that I had that option because I've always been so shy, but it made for really awesome times. And I had a lot of good, memories doing that. And in terms of just the Merced area in general, I really love the movie theaters. I'm a simple guy, but God, I love the movie theaters, and I miss the movies so much. And that's a little bit of my quarantine fatigue coming out, but oh man, I miss Merced. It was so great. It was so great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Before we actually have a question that came in the chat, before we introduce one more panelist who just joined us, Kennedy, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, letting us know where you're from, your major, what year you're in, and 2 activities, organizations you're a part of, if you wouldn't mind sharing that information with us.
Hi, so my name is Kennedy. I am a 3rd-year anthropology major. I'm a part of BSU, Black Student Union, and the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. So that's pretty much me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kennedy. Welcome aboard. So here's a question for one of our attendees. What resources are available for transfer students, and what advice would you give a transfer student? Mariah, I know you're a transfer student.
Yes, absolutely. So not only was I a transfer student, but I also am an advisor for transfer students. So I would tell you to get in contact with me for the best information. However, what I would say to that question, the resource that I used the most was assist.org to figure out what courses that I needed to take at my community college in order to transfer. But as a transfer advisor, I like to tell transfer students to pay attention to 4 factors. So you want to pay attention to the GPA requirement, not only for minimum admissions, acceptance, but for your major, which can differ from the minimum admissions GPA requirement. So keep that in mind. You also want to make sure you keep in mind your unit count. To transfer as a junior level applicant, you must have 60 semester or 90 quarter units of UC transferable coursework. In addition to that, you want to pay attention to your general education, which are coursework that are going to help to prepare you for your, or that you have to take before graduation. And that consists of 7 courses, 2 English composition courses, 1 math, and 4 elective courses. And then you also want to pay attention to your major preparation, which you will find on assist.org. But I will go ahead and connect with you, I think, after this meeting, just to make sure, after this presentation, just so that you have somebody you can talk to and ask questions to in case, and so that I can help you and guide you through your transfer journey.
Thank you, Mariah, for that question. So another question that's coming up. So this is a common question that usually pops up a lot, but how do you balance work, school, and school life as a student? For those of you who may be working, how do you balance that time together? And if it's not working, how do you balance your schoolwork with just being involved in organizations? Can you speak to your time management skills?
I guess I can kind of touch on that. I didn't work personally due to school. However, I was involved in like a billion different clubs. One of the things that I did to stay organized and stay on top of my stuff was definitely have a planner. Using a planner was definitely so helpful. Best thing that I could have done. Prioritize my work. So before I wanted to go out Friday, I wanted to make sure I got that assignment due Monday done. Really prioritize and ask questions. I think it's important to ask your professors questions. That way you can have a clear understanding of what the assignment is about. And don't procrastinate. I can tell you freshman year that did happen to me. However, over time, I have realized that procrastination is not your friend. Okay, so some of us work well under pressure. I know I do. At the same time, it's good to attack things as soon as possible. That way you have enough time to space out to fix something. So definitely planner, don't procrastinate, ask questions.
Yeah, so I would like to add on to that. Having Google Calendars has helped me a lot. I have a lot of the Google features. So I have Google Keep as well. And I love those two because you can attach documents. So on my Google Calendar, if I know I have a research paper or like some type of English paper, any type of assignment, I can attach a link, or I can even attach the document for that assignment for that research paper so that I know, hey, this research paper hasn't been updated, and I can quickly access that either on my phone or on my computer or from wherever. And on top of that, like procrastination, like she mentioned, is not going to be your best friend. I have a lot of classes, and it gets like sometimes you'll have work that overlaps. So you have to realize that if you are someone that usually takes like 4 hours to do work, some assignments may take you even longer just because of like some of the requirements, and especially like if you're intending on trying to understand the material as well, and you might have to like refer back to your notes so to prepare yourself for that assignment. So procrastination definitely is not going to be your best friend in college.
Great, thank you for that. All right, I have a question. Another question is for any of you who are involved in research. Can you briefly tell us about the research that you're involved in and what your role is specifically? And with that question, also, if you are involved in even internship opportunities, for example. So if anyone would like to speak to that?
So I could touch on research. I'm not doing research for a certain professor or a specific professor. I'm actually in a research class. I'm doing ethnographic research. Right now I'm doing my research, and I have a 20-page paper due tomorrow. So yeah, do not procrastinate. I'm doing my research on Sikhism, but you have an opportunity when you do sign up for these research classes. It will be a lot of work. You do have to immerse yourself in a subculture. You do have to learn about them, but it's actually fun and it's worth it. You know, you get credits and you also you learn about other people. So yeah, and I've participated in internship opportunity on campus as well. I've done the Brown Youth Academy. It's actually a summer camp for the youth. I was a youth leader, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. It's just for 3 weeks, but you wake up at 6 a.m., go to sleep at like midnight. So it's long days, but it's really worth it. So, and you have opportunity to sign up for that, interview for it if you do go to Merced.
Awesome. Wonderful.
I can actually touch on internships. I didn't do any research, but if you don't mind. So I think it was my third year. Yeah, the summer of my third year going into my fourth year, I got an internship at a law firm in Merced. At the time, I was convinced that being a lawyer was the path for me. Evidently, that didn't work out because I'm going to be a teacher now, but that's just how life works, I've realized. And it was definitely very insightful. It was definitely very enlightening for me because when you're an angsty young adult who doesn't know what to do with his life, you got to try things. And the internship definitely gave me an opportunity to get a taste of what law was like and to make a decision for myself as to whether I enjoyed doing that sort of work and if I can see myself doing that sort of work for the rest of my life. So I highly recommend that you guys try internships, just get some experience.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And again, just want to encourage you all, if you have any questions, once again, to feel free to submit those questions in the Q&A so we can address those to the panelists. Another question that's coming up right now is what or who has helped your success at UC Merced? So if you could speak to if you utilized student support services, how you navigated those support services, if you could speak to that, that would be great.
Okay, I really want to answer this one because Mariana Harris and Mark Harris, they are some of the best people you can get into contact with when you go to UC Merced. They are helpful in every single way, every shape and form. They're they're both professors, and we have a Black Resource Center as well. And then we also have just other resources that you can find at like the Wellness Center. So yeah, but I definitely wanted to say those two names for incoming UC Merced students. Definitely get in touch with them.
Thank you, Kennedy. Anyone else want to touch upon what's made you stay at Merced a successful one so far?
Yeah, I feel like I'm hogging the mic. I hope I'm getting a little self-conscious. But I definitely agree with Kennedy. I got in touch with Mark Harris and Maria Harris, and they are some really wonderful people. I didn't meet them until my last year, and until then, I was definitely very just unsure about the future. But when I got to talking with them, they definitely helped me figure out a path for my future, which was really handy. Mark Harris is probably one of the, if not the only African-American teacher I've ever encountered in my life. And it turned out to be, it had a huge impact on me as an African-American student. So to see that, to just take a class with him, you'd be surprised how it would make you feel. Honestly, it was very inspiring. And not just him, right, but all the other professors I've encountered on this campus, just by going to them and talking to them, it really helped me out. It turns out, believe it or not, that professors actually want to help you and they want you to succeed. And crazy, like you talk to them like people and they help you like a person, and it definitely changed how I interacted with my education. So I strongly recommend it. Just talk to people.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so some questions now coming into the chat. So one is, how many transfer students were accepted last semester to the program of public health? Actually, that question, we can probably reach out to you, give you specific information. We don't have specific numbers, but I do have another transfer question in regards to student life for transfer students in terms of housing. Is there programs available for transfer students when it comes to housing? And with that, in terms of addressing the question about public health, Mariah, if you want to address those questions as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we do keep statistics on our webpage if you want to take a look at exactly how many students did get accepted into the public health major. I'm not sure if those statistics are up to date at this time, but that is something that you can take a look at if you are interested. Student housing when I was a transfer student was a little bit different. So I won't talk about that, but we do have living learning communities for transfer students, as I just said, for Black students specifically, or any students who are interested in learning about the African diaspora. Can join Afro Hall and live within these communities. We also have transfer student living learning communities specific for transfer students. If you don't want to be in maybe the Afro Hall, but you want to be in a community with other transfer students, then you have that. We also have our transfer student, we have apartment style homes on campus. They're called Valley Terraces, and they are exactly like apartments, except for they do not have kitchens. So that's basically the main difference between that and a regular apartment. And that's mostly where our older students, veterans, and transfer students get to live on campus for the upcoming terms whenever we do go back to campus, if you are interested and wondering where you will stay on campus when you get here.
Great, wonderful.
Was that every question, Tim?
That was, yeah. Thank you for that. All right, so I have another question coming up. I'd like to address this question, if I may, to Kayla. What is your favorite thing about the university?
That's a good question. I would say my favorite was Treats and Beats, which was the event for Halloween that they'd have in like the parking lot, where they'd have a special guest come and perform, and then they had like all these attractions and food trucks and the music. It was just really fun, especially because I love Halloween, and it was cool seeing everyone else dress up, and then having a whole Ferris wheel. That was cool. Like, it just feels like you're not, I forgot that I was even on campus. I really like that. So I like that they do that.
Awesome.
I'm gonna go ahead and chime in here. I definitely agree with Kayla. Treats and Beats and also Coachella definitely has to be two of the most exciting events that UC Merced puts on for their students every year. If you're anything like me and like to be in the front of every concert, things like that, we did have B.O.B. I think my first year, and I was up there holding his hand. Okay, so with it being a smaller school, I guess you can say that's kind of cool because you have access to your favorite artists when they come. I don't know, but definitely a nice event. They have vendors there with food, a couple rides, just a good time. And you do definitely feel like you're not on campus anymore. You feel like you're at a amusement park or a fair. It's really something to really kick back and chill with your friends. Very good event.
Wonderful. Thank you both for that.
Can I also chime in? We also have Cabsterical, which happens to be one of my favorite events, where we have comedians come over, and it's free to our students. And the year that I went, we had Pete Davidson come out, so that was really fun. And that's one of my favorite events.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thanks. All right, so the next question is, this is always an important question. I know a lot of parents like this question, but can you speak to the safety on campus? How do you feel being on campus in Merced itself? Can you address that particular topic? So again, can you address the topic of campus safety? Do you feel safe on campus?
I can start off. Since I'm currently living on campus, I can definitely tell you with the measures that Merced has put into place, I feel very safe on campus. Everything when it comes to like vehicles is checked regularly. So you have the campus police that monitor, that drive around campus, including at night. You also have different check-in points. So if students go off campus that are able to drive, maybe to like go to an appointment or to pick up groceries, and they come back, they have to make sure that they've checked in with the health center and that they have their green pass, which is pretty much like your check-in to make sure you don't have any symptoms and that you're good to go. As well as when it comes to like building safety, we have to have our CAT cards to access different buildings. So people from a different dorm, of course, will not be able to access another dorm because you don't have the CAT card that allows you to go in. So you won't have strangers or anyone who might try to start something in the dorm because they don't have access to it, as well as like going up the elevators. So in Tenaya, you will have to also have your CAT card to go up the elevators and access the different floors. And I feel like that's has helped a lot. And also like throughout campus, we have the blue emergency buttons that you can press. So in case you need campus police or like someone to assist you to a different location at night or any time of the day, you'll have access to that.
Thank you for that. Awesome. We have a question in the chat. How do I know if I'm making the right choice choosing UC Merced? Jamina.
Oh, I picked that one, huh? Okay. Well, from my personal experience, I can say I felt it in my gut. Now, UC Merced definitely, it was not my first choice either. But when I chose it, I felt like, okay, this is something that's a new start. I can really have some good opportunities coming my way. And with me being a UCM student, I'm able to get my foot in the door when it comes to other things, such as UC Sacramento, for example. The cohort was filled with UCLA students mainly, and very few UCM students. So different events like that, they want to see representation. And with UC Merced being a new school, clearly we've made some amazing progress as far as rankings and things like that. And things are getting better progressively each year. So my answer probably, you'll feel it. I can definitely say I made the right choice because I've had some amazing opportunities. I was, excuse me, my throat. When I interned at the California Department of Justice, I'm not gonna lie, I did have, what is that word? I did have, okay, I can't think of the word, but where you're not comfortable because you feel like you're not, the word just left my mind. I've been out of school for too long. Anyway, I guess you can say I had some sort of anxiety going into there because I felt like I wasn't good enough or wasn't smart enough because I was in there with UCLA alums, Harvard alums doing the same exact thing. So clearly I was just as good. Okay, so really you have to feel it in your chest. UC Merced is a great school and it's doing nothing but getting better and better in all aspects.
I believe what you might have been looking for was imposter syndrome.
There we go. Yes, imposter syndrome. Thank you. That word just, phew. Yes, I had an imposter syndrome. And I'm not going to lie, I did have that coming into college. I'm first gen. I went straight in. I started college at 17. And it was something new to me. It took some time to really get it together, really figure out what it was I wanted to do, how to really approach this new thing in my life, like this next 4 years, probably the most important 4 years. So you'll definitely feel it. And I can say that there's some amazing alum that have went here. And I highly recommend you get in contact with them, any one of these panelists or myself.
Great. I think, is there a quick additional for Rose?
Yeah, so I just want to include that Merced offers a lot of potential. And if you're someone that really loves potential, or if you're someone that can like grasp any type of opportunity when you see it, to like seize it, Merced is a great campus for that because it has so much potential.
Thank you.
I wanted to say really quick that while at the end, I did feel like I was making the right decision, but once I got there, actually for the first 2 weeks I was there, I was like, oh no, this was the wrong decision. I shouldn't have came here. I felt everything. I was like, I'm going to transfer, I'm leaving. But once I started, feeling more comfortable and going to my classes more and actually doing work and making friends, I was like, okay, this isn't bad. I was just really in my head. So if that happens to you, I just want to say stick it out because you can change your mind, because I certainly did. Completely 180.
Thank you for that. Thanks for that, Denim. Another question that's coming through. With everything going on with the injustices around us now, do you feel protected at UC Merced as Black students? And how does UC Merced deal with racial problems? It's a great question. Anyone?
I guess I'll touch on that. So one of the reasons why I did choose UC Merced is just because of how diverse it is and how inclusive it is. So, sorry. I was kind of nervous about going to Merced originally because it's in the Central Valley, and that's like, I don't know. Always to me, I was just like, I don't know, like what area is that? Like this in the middle of nowhere, and things happen when you're in the middle of nowhere to Black people. So I was very nervous, but when I got there, like I have never experienced such inclusivity since I've like actually came onto campus, and I met all kinds of different people, and the professors, they're really easygoing in the sense of, if you feel you are not safe, if you feel like you need to talk to someone about what's going on, racial, whatever, anything, then there will definitely be someone there to talk to you and to help you get through what is going on. And there's also zero tolerance for stuff like that. I mean, as a university, especially as a newer university, they cannot have anything like that on campus. Not to say it doesn't happen, because that's going to happen everywhere you go. Everywhere in the world, there's going to be some sort of racial discrimination, racism. I don't know. All I know is at UC Merced, you will more than likely not really experience that, just as a Black girl who went there and or who still goes there, and I have nothing but acceptance from all kinds of people.
I did want to follow up to that with the statistics. So UC Merced is actually the most diverse UC campus to date. So do know that we do have quite a bit of representation here at UC Merced for our Black students. And then, we also have a lot of resources and professors and faculty like yourself who will be more than happy to assist you in anything. Um, you just have to be willing to find the resources and to speak to people when you need something. And I think that's really important for students incoming. They're really shy with attaining those resources and to speaking to people about inclusivity and where you can go maybe to be more inclusive or to feel more inclusive. That was something that actually Jamina was able to help me with, because I was an incoming transfer student and I met her my first year, and she was very, 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 involved, heavily involved with Black student organizations and clubs, and that's something that she really helped me get into. And so you really just have to put yourself out there at the end of the day, and not be afraid to ask yourself. One thing we always say is to never make yourself feel small just because you don't feel like you necessarily fit in. Make yourself bigger. Always make yourself bigger. And that's just, I guess, a little bit of advice following that statistic to that question.
Thank you, Mariah. All right, so this is last question, because we are at time. But what advice would you give to future students? This is a question to the panelists. So if you could each just share some special advice to potential students.
I think for me, just going back to what I said before, to just stick it out, because like I said, at least I know I get in my head a lot, and I tend to overthink, and I think I want to quit. But if you just stick it out, it's actually not as hard as you might be telling yourself it is. So just stick it out.
I would say study abroad. I studied abroad last semester, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And that just goes to show that at UC Merced, because it is newer and because it is not as big of a university, there's so many opportunities that you can get into. Get into anything you want. You could even start a club if you want. You can do literally anything you set your mind to at UC Merced, because they will help you.
Honestly, I would say be patient with yourself. College, university, it's all a very stressful, exhausting, at times emotionally strenuous thing to go through. And I would honestly suggest for you to, have some compassion for yourself. It's not easy. Sometimes it sucks, sometimes it's really hard, and you have to be able to forgive yourself for your mistakes and carry on. And I suppose, honestly, figure out how to spend your time when you're not simply passing the time. I think when you're in this cycle of working and going to school, it can be very exhausting and very just draining overall to the soul, really. So you need to have an activity, something, you know, that just recharges you and doesn't just distract you from everything. So honestly, I would suggest join a club or get a hobby, just something, you know, talk to friends. Honestly, that's always fun. That's always awesome. And I strongly recommend it.
I like to say just to grow in general. So whether that is trying something new every day, whether that is like just seeing someone like down a hall, down the street, or walking anywhere and just saying a hello, reaching out to professors, asking questions, even if you get rejected for an internship, a rejection only helps you grow. And every connection that you make is a new resource. And I think growth is the biggest thing that you can take away from your experience here.
Definitely all of those are great. I'm gonna make this really quick. One of the main things I would say is wherever you end up going, hopefully UC Merced, go to office hours. Go to office hours. You need to get that feel with the professor. You never know, you can get letters of rec. It's probably gonna be extra credit. One of my classes was extra credit to go to office hours, so highly recommend that. Take care of yourself. Mental health is so important. The mind controls the body. College is very stressful and it can be very hard, but you are not alone. Make sure that you get productive and stay positive and just definitely hang out with friends, talk to somebody, and just continue to push through. And just lastly, have fun with it. I understand college is really important, but it's also your life. So be sure to make sure you have a little bit of fun.
Thank you all so much for those wonderful experiences and insights. We really value all of your experiences, and thank you so much for being honest and open about sharing those with our community. So I'd like to turn it over to Adam Miller, who has some updated information for us. Thank you all for joining us. Yeah, Adam.
Thank you, Timothy, and a big thank you to all of our panelists for your work tonight, and thank you all for attending. I also want to take a moment to let you know that we do have more events scheduled throughout the remainder of November. To find out more about them or to view any of our past events, you can go to admissions.ucmerced.edu/discover, and I've put the link directly to that in the chat. Also, just a reminder that the application deadline for all University of California campuses is 11:59 p.m. on November 30th. We do have 2 special webinars set aside specifically to assist with any last-minute application questions that you may have. They'll be on November 24th and November 30th from 6 to 10 p.m. We'll have our admissions evaluators as well as our recruitment specialists there to answer any questions that you may have. You can register for those by visiting the admissions.ucmerced.edu/discover website. From all of us here at UC Merced, we thank you again for attending tonight's webinar. We hope that you stay healthy, and we hope to see you in the spring or in the fall. Good night.